Good evening and welcome to the, what date today is? The September 15th Board of Selectmen Meeting in the town of Middleborough. We are being taped by Middleborough Community Cable Access Media and broadcast on both Verizon and Comcast. Unanticipated. Does any member of the board have anything under unanticipated?
Mr.
Not available.
Ms. Lopes, if you're going to be routing tonight, now that you're off the clock.
Mr. Chair, if I may, Chief Gates, as we all know, is retired. He may be at that process at this point. I was wondering if the board could maybe issue a proclamation thanking him for his service. I know there is a ceremony, there is a party, there is a farewell on Friday. If we could have it by then?
Is that a motion?
It is, if we can do that.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Anybody else have anything under unanticipated? Any member of the audience have anything under unanticipated? All right. Announcements and recognitions. Any member of the board have anything under announcements and recognitions?
Mr. Chairman, the building department has some office closings. We'll be closing the following Wednesdays until 1 p.m. September 17th, September 24th, and October 1st. So they will not be open to the public of those days and times.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my weekly announcement, I'm trying to get the word out there. DiscoverMiddleborough.com, DiscoverMiddleborough@gmail. That's with the UGH on the end of it. We have the Oktoberfest coming up. We are soliciting advertisements for our second annual Town's Events and Festivals brochure. And we also have free advertising for businesses on our website. We have a listing. And we have featured businesses every month, so please check us out on discovermiddleborough.com or at discovermiddleborough@gmail. You can get more information. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who participated in the Candlelight Vigil on Friday for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, the month of September. I'd like to say thank you to all the town employees who have lit up the buildings with gold. Friday night was a great ceremony attended by Representative Keating as well. And it was just, I brought my daughter. It was just a really nice community event, and it's heartbreaking, but it's good to see that so many people were involved. I'd also like to remind people that today is September 15th, and the law says that from September 15th to May 15th, if you're on a canoe or a kayak on any body of water in Massachusetts, you should be wearing a life jacket or a personal flotation device. So please get out there, explore the Nemasket. It's a beautiful time of year to be out there in a canoe and kayak, but be safe and wear your life jacket or your PFD. And now I have a whole bunch of them. So September is National Preparedness Month. So it's time to prepare yourself and those in your care for emergencies and disasters. If you've seen the news recently, you know that emergencies can happen unexpectedly in communities just like ours. We've seen tornado outbreaks, severe winter storms, river floods, flash floods, historic earthquakes, tsunamis, and even water main breaks and power outages in U.S. cities affecting millions of people for days at a time. Police, fire, and rescue may not always be able to reach you quickly in an emergency or a disaster. The most important step you can take in helping your local responders is being able to take care of yourself and those in your care. The more people who are prepared, the quicker the community will recover. The Middleborough Health Department and MRC CERT unit has collaborated with local vendors such as Hannaford, Trukey's, Benny's, Family Dollar, and Aubuchon in an effort to provide the community an opportunity to purchase items that can easily be incorporated into an emergency preparedness family pet kit. Residents can look for displays and suggestions for an emergency kit, including free flyers with building your 72-hour family emergency kit to take while you shop and look for potential discounted items for your kit. Our local veterinarian clinics, Chase Veterinarian and Middleborough Animal Clinic, may also participate in September National Preparedness Month by handing out free flyers and brochures to pet owners on emergency preparedness for pets, including building an emergency preparedness pet kit. Each week in September, themes will be suggested to prepare you and your family for disasters that affect our community. Look for weekly updates on our town website. Residents walking in the center of town can observe and read posters displayed in the Old Bank Building on Center Street that provide the community information on September National Preparedness Month and building a 72-hour emergency family kit, including emergency pet kits. In addition, residents who bring an emergency plan and picture of items for their family pet emergency kit will receive a free grab-and-go bag and be entered in a free raffle for a grab-and-go kit. Please contact Jessica Gardner at Middleborough Health Department for more information. All right. So the Middleborough DPW has a job posting for a truck driver laborer at a grade 7. You can go to the website and read all about that. And they also have a job posting for a meter reader and water distribution mechanic grade 5. Again, all that information, all the details are on the website. And that's it for me. Does anyone in the audience have anything under announcements and recognitions? All right. I would entertain a motion to approve the 9/8/2014 regular and executive session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Just the regular meeting.
Yeah, we did it.
Just the regular minutes, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I would entertain a motion to approve the warrants for week ending September 13th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. New business. Entertain a motion to authorize the chairman to sign the authorization for signatories for police department FY15 support and incentive grant and FY15 training grant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Charlie, do you want to speak to this?
No, go right ahead, let's do that, because I'm not sure if one of these doesn't in fact require this vote, so go ahead. Originally I thought it might not, but better to take and be safe.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion to sign the FY16 recreational land classification MGL Chapter 61B Section 3 application regarding the property coverage for Soul Street, map in lot number 001.B-000-0097.0.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion to send a letter to civil service granting access to MACS NEOGOV system to Police Chief Joseph Perkins.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're going to hold off on the firefighters union contract.
Yeah.
I would entertain a motion to authorize payment of the invoices for Atlantic Design Engineers as follows. These are all valid, or?
Yes, the only one you need to actually vote, I realize today, is the third last one for $1,882.50, because town manager can actually sign the other two.
All right.
I apologize.
I'd entertain a motion to authorize the payment of the invoice for Atlantic Design Engineers for the review of Harding Street TIP project and the WRPD application for $1,882.50.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. I'd entertain a motion to vote and sign, to award and sign the contract regarding the Mitchell Street water main materials.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. We're doing pretty good. Way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, you just noticed that, huh?
Just kind of,
Yeah.
you plow through. All right. Charlie, you want to go over the town manager's report?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. In the report tonight were just some of the things we've done for the building, but we recently got a letter from the Department of Environmental Protection relating to the wastewater treatment plant and 0% financing. And we got confirmation that our wastewater policies that relate to growth control were acceptable to them. So that's good news. That means we're on our, you know, on track to applying for and hopefully receiving the 0% financing for, you know, a large portion of the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. So that is very good news.
Yeah, that's excellent. Ms. Dahl?
Just to
Yep.
point out, though, one thing they want us to do is they want us to take the map of the sewer system area and incorporate that into the policy. So one of the things we'll be doing for you or with you in the next couple of weeks is updating that map and having to take a vote on that and having it make it part of the policy, because while there was a map attached, there wasn't anything referenced, and they wanted us to be clear about, because the way the policy reads, if you're not in that area, you're basically out of luck. And, you know, they want us to be able to better define what that area is, on a clearer map than what we normally use. So that's what we'll be doing. That's what we'll be asking to do in a couple of weeks.
Ms. Dalpy, I noticed that the Tourism Committee is going to have tours of Town Hall.
Yes, we are. On Halloween, ghost tours of the Town Hall. First time ever. Come on out. Go to our website, discovermiddleborough.com, and find out the information, the times, how much it'll cost you. It'll be a real bargain, I promise you. It will be starting at 8 o'clock after the festivities of Trunk or Treat are finished in the parking lot. And there are a few stories. We know that we are technically, we had a paranormal investigation and we are haunted, so maybe we'll have some sightings as well.
We've had, I think, at least 4 investigations that I've been a part of.
Right, we're going to show a brief film with those investigations at the beginning of each tour, and some photographs and video of some things people have caught on camera, which are kind of spooky, and then we will take you through the town hall.
Sounds good to me. And the Middleborough Friends are having the Masquerade Ball on November 1st. Is that what that is? All right. And the Energy Fair is going to be on October 4th from 9 to 3, and that's sponsored by Middleborough Gas and Electric. And if anybody else has anything to talk about for the next 15 minutes, I'm open.
Want to do correspondence?
Sure.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. McKinnon.
we had to talk about something in executive session before we,
Yeah, I think it's 5 minutes, so I don't think you have to.
well, we can
Do
do
it
it
You can do
now
it if you want. It's
and
up to
then
you.
come back into, because, I mean, we've got the time.
How about we go through correspondence and I don't want to ask everybody to get up and leave and then come back in.
What?
Well, the bad news too is I don't see our 7:30 appointment, I don't think. So, unless they're planning to arrive just in time.
So correspondence, you want to start, Mr. McKinnon?
Yes. I will start with item number 1, and that's the Plymouth County Commissioners meeting on the 25th. Barring another conflict with another board that I'm on, we will probably be able to make that meeting. It's important that we go there. We're going to be discussing budget transfers and votes regarding additional revenue from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for fiscal year 2015. So we want to make sure we get our voice heard. The other item, I don't believe I have any other items on that. So
Today's the 25th. Thursday, if you can't make it, let me know. Maybe I'll go. Or if you want company.
Yeah, you can come as a spectator because only one of us can be a voter.
Ms. Dalpy, do you have anything?
Number 4, the Soul Homestead is having its Unscary Halloween Party Saturday, October 25th from 3 to 5 p.m. At the Soul Homestead Education Center. There will be games, interactive stories, crafts, refreshments, temporary tattoos and face painting. Find prizes in the haystack, hay rides, weather permitting. It is $5 for members, $7 for non-members. Family rates for members are 5 people for $20, and children under 2 are free. So that sounds like a good time. Also, the Soul Homestead is having their 23rd annual Soul Homestead Harvest Fair and Joe Davies Folk Festival. That will be September 20th, and that's Saturday from 10 to 5, and Sunday, September 21st, from 11 to 5, and there'll be continuous folk music all day long. Saturday, they're featuring Boxcar Lilies at 3:30 p.m. Family fun with something for everyone. Dale Perkins' amazing trick horse show, sheepdog demonstrations, children's tent, hay rides, etc., etc. A good fall event for everyone to attend. $7 for everyone. Children younger than 6 are free. And you can find out more information if you go to info@soulhomestead.org, www.soulhomestead.org. And you can also go to Facebook for facebook.com/soulhomestead, more information. So that looks like a good time as well. I also received an invitation if anyone's interested in attending the Plymouth County Development Council's 42nd annual meeting and luncheon. It is held at Plymouth Plantation Pavilion. Vinnie De Macedo is the Massachusetts rep speaking, and Charlie... Macedo? De Macedo. Okay. That's the American version of Italian. And then Charlie Baker will be speaking there as well. If you want more information on that, it is a lunch. It begins at 11:30 for registration. 12 noon is the welcome. 1 p.m. luncheon, and then the meeting will be at 2:30. You can go to phyllis.cahoon@cplymouth.com. That would be the email. Or you can call 508-747-0100 and find out any more information about attending if you'd like. It is $30 per person or $240 for a table of 8. That's all I have.
All right, Mr. Knowlton?
No, I'm all set. Everything's been covered that I wanted to say.
Ms. Stewart?
The Jesse Heckle Foundation is holding a Bago, second annual Bago tournament. I did not know what a Bago was until I had learned about that, but it's like a bean bag toss, I guess, and that's on Sunday, October 5th. It's $50 per pair, and all the money goes to childhood cancer research. I don't recall who the contact person is, but if you give me a call, 774-766-1188, or email dstewart@middleborough.com, I will get you in touch with the right person.
That way you throw it in the holes?
It is.
That's cornhole.
Well, that's not what it's on the website, so.
All right.
But you're probably right, it's probably the same thing.
All right, I have my own set, so I may have to.
So a child.
It might be. My wife is extremely competitive on that type of thing, and I don't know why, but, all right. So, would you like to adjourn for 10 minutes? You want to do executive session?
Sure you don't want to discuss that? I mean,
Yeah,
looks like
if we have, and I'm afraid we're gonna have more than 10 minutes, so might as well.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we go into executive session to discuss the contract negotiation with the police chief, to return to open session.
Second?
Have a motion and a second?
Full vote.
Poll vote?
McKinnon, yes?
Dalpe, yes.
Chairman says yes.
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 All right.
We're going to go.
Sorry, folks, we're going to go into executive session for a couple minutes. You can leave your stuff here, you don't have to take it. Okay, welcome back. We will open up a hearing. A hearing will be held in the Selectmen's Meeting Room at Town Hall, 10 Nickerson Avenue, Middleborough, Mass. On Monday, September 15th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. for the purpose of discussing an application filed by Outback Engineering Incorporated on behalf of R.M. Thomas Excavating for an earth removal permit for property located at 182 Clinton Street, Middleborough. Assessors map 026, lot 5074. Anyone desiring to be heard on this matter should appear at the time and place designated. Hearing is now open.
How you doing tonight? I'm Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering.
Speaking to the engineer, yeah. Speaking to the microphone thing.
I'm Jason Youngquist from Outback Engineering. I have the green cards here for the abutter notifications.
There is.
I'm here tonight on behalf of Bob Thomas, who's also here. This is a project that's been before the board before. I was withdrawn without prejudice. We've taken the plan and enhanced it. We've added in a 50-foot no disturbance buffer along the property. I know before the original plan did not have a buffer zone, and that was a concern of the board. So we've since condensed the project. You know, it's an 18.5 acre site with a 4.5 acre cranberry bog proposed, and about 30 to 40,000 cubic yards of gravel material to be hauled out. Since the last hearing, Mr. Thomas has spoken with the neighbors, especially the two direct abutters, and he has obtained, some letters from them showing their support for the project. They like the project as it is. The buffer zones that are proposed, they feel protect their property sufficiently, leaving the natural vegetation between the two properties. And they believe that the cranberry bog is not detrimental to their property, and they've submitted a letter from each abutter stating such. So tonight we wanted to present the new plans to the board and get your feeling on the 50-foot buffer. It's similar to other projects we've done in town, specifically Fuller Street, the bog that's being built out there, and the gravel removal project that's being built out there. And just wanted to get your feel for the project, and so we can move forward with submitting the plans to the review engineer, getting his comments, and finalizing the whole project. But felt like it wasn't worth going to the review engineer and spending even more money when we haven't really discussed with the board after it was withdrawn last time on our new design.
So, Mr. Chairman, I did agree with Jason that it would make most sense to first come and get your feeling on the 50-foot buffer. The regulations ask for a 100-foot buffer all around. This is certainly an improvement from the prior set of plans. I think the idea of the buffer is just so that the abutters have some protection and some distance from the activities. I haven't read the letters from the abutters. I think that's worth seeing what they have to say. But I think it really comes down to, I don't think, Jason, I don't think anything in the letter is anything you can't accomplish from your review engineer. It's just a matter of them not wanting to put all that effort in, unless they saw that there was a possibility of getting the permit with a 50-foot buffer. And the feeling with the 100-foot buffer is, what, can you explain why that isn't possible?
The 100-foot buffer, specifically out front, it pinches the whole project. It makes the bog have a point and it's impractical. It makes the 4.5 acre bog, it takes too much area out of it. It also affects the ground removal, the amount of material coming out. But to add that 100-foot buffer, it makes the bog not even worth building. So then essentially we're just trying to remove gravel. With the 50-foot buffer, leaving the vegetated 50 feet along the sides, we believe that it's more than sufficient to protect the abutting properties.
Could Jack read the letters from the abutters? I'd just like to know if they understand any of them.
They're very short, and
May I
both
read
say the
one?
same thing.
Because they're both exactly the same, so may I read one? This letter is to inform the board that we are not opposed to the setback distance on the buffer zone between our property and the Thomas property shown on the June 4, 2014 earth removal plan for the cranberry bogs for Robert Thomas. They're both exactly the same.
Have you seen the comments from the engineer and the DPW?
The original comments, yes, we incorporated those into the revised plans, addressing his comments. Obviously, still have to go back to the review engineer at some point and have him finalize his review. And any additional comments he might have, I think we can address them without any significant changes to the plan.
I don't have any issue with it. If you can address the engineer's issues and the DPW's issues, and your abutters are on board with it, I don't have any issue with it, but I'm only one member of the board.
Mr. Chair, I read through some of this. Some of the methodology you want to use concerns me. That's a very busy street, practically all the time, but especially on Saturdays. Now, you're planning on doing gravel hauling on Saturdays, according to this, and you're planning on doing it until 6 o'clock at night, which is contrary to what we normally do. We normally do 7 to 5. I wouldn't want to see any gravel hauling on Saturday. It would be difficult on that road because we have a lot of people going to our transfer station or landfill. And I don't want to see something bad happen down there. So that would be an issue for me. That's really a minor issue. That's just probably, you're not talking, what are you talking, how many, 40,000 yards you said?
30 to 40,000 yards in that range.
So you're probably talking about a 2-year program?
We're looking at 2 years.
On the setback, though, the 50-foot set, or 100-foot that we want, we have given variances to that amount?
Yeah.
But,
Although lately, we've been trying to hold to the 100 feet.
right.
You know, the fact that this is a relatively short earth removal, and the abutters are on board, makes me a little bit more comfortable with it, because it's not like, you know, this is going to go on for, as some of them do, for 3, 5, 7 years, and you never know when property changes, how other people are going to react. In all likelihood, the people who wrote those letters are still going to be there when this project is over. So, you know, if they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it, I guess. I wouldn't feel that way about a much bigger project, but on something this size.
So I think that one of my concerns is of course that truck traffic. That it's a pretty heavily traveled truck route to begin with, with the landfill operation down there, and then down further a little bit, you've got another cranberry bog operation going on. So I think you've got to redesign your hours of operation.
I think that's something we can work with and
Yeah.
talk to Mr. Thomas and come up with something that'll work for everybody.
Yeah, so we're really not looking for a decision tonight. I guess it's just a feeling of the board on the 50-foot buffer, because then if you're willing to do that, then they can go back, address your engineer's comments, come back, and, you know, have it here, you know, continue the hearing, come back with everything in order.
Well, Mr. Chairman, our conservation agent, Tricia Cassidy, had some comments. I don't know if you had a chance to look at those. They're from September 12th.
I have not seen those.
Okay, so
no.
she just wanted it noted that the proposal has an order of conditions with the Conservation Commission under DEP file number SE 220-1169, which was issued May 17th, 2012, for site clearing and grading to develop cranberry bogs to the rear of the existing dwelling. The order of conditions is valid until May 17th, 2017. She notes that there was an inspection of the erosion controls in January, and since that was 9 months ago, she would want to re-inspect for the erosion controls prior to start of any work. She also wanted it noted that the applicant has switched engineers from Silva Engineering to Outback Engineering, that there is now less impact to the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetlands than was approved by the Conservation Commission, and the Commission would like a final revised plan if it is approved, and then also the soil test pit information was not shown on the plans.
And that's information we can get to her. And again, there's less impact to the buffer zone, but when we do give the plans, the finalized plans, if we get to that point, sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead of myself. And the commission, for some reason, thinks that the impact's different than the original approval under the order conditions, we can go into an amended order. But I think all our work in the buffer zone is less than the original approval, so I think that'll be part of it. But that is an option that we needed to do.
Mr. Chair, if I may, are you going to be blasting at all?
No.
Okay, that was a question in there. You will not be.
No.
Okay, that one's easy.
Mr. Moulton, any comments or questions?
No, my only comment is that as long as the abutters are fine with this, I don't see a problem right now.
Okay, so do you want to just continue the hearing until, how long do you think we should take to?
I think it's just a matter of getting the plans to Atlantic and see how fast they can get back to us.
2 weeks?
Sounds optimistic. We'll take it.
All right. No, I mean, 3 weeks, if that's better.
3 is probably a little bit, because it's going to take him 2 weeks just to get back to us and then give us a couple days to revise it.
All right, so we'll continue
Well,
it.
3 weeks would be the 4th, that's the
Town meeting, so we'll give you a month.
Yeah, 13. Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
October 13th is the
Can you,
holiday.
if you just come to the podium, introduce yourself?
My name is Tanya Sullivan. My property also abuts this property. I don't understand why we're just talking about 2 abutters here. I guess that was my first question.
I don't understand that either.
There's a number of properties that abut this property.
Tanya Sullivan, was that?
Yes.
The reason we're focused on the 2 abutters that are right up front, because those are the 2 where we have the 50-foot buffer. Everybody else has the 100-foot buffer, which is required by the board. So it's those 2 that are impacted the most by the plan with the 50-foot buffer. Everybody else has the 100-foot buffer the board would like to see.
Is there an available environmental impact study here? We have wetlands on our property. We have a small pond. This is surely going to drain away some of that and change the nature of our property, as well as the abutting properties, which also have small ponds and wildlife in them. And I haven't heard anything about the environmental impact of that. I'm concerned that we're changing the regulations for what appears to be no reason but the profit of one company, when I'm sure that 100-foot buffer has some meaning about the integrity of the property that surrounds a project like this. So I'm wondering why that exception's being made just because it's being asked for. That was another of my
The
questions.
board is allowed discretion. We're allowed to grant a variance.
I understand that, but
It's
is there
allowed.
any reason to grant a variance?
We'd like to encourage business and growth in town, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Actually, let me just add that it's primarily for the benefit of the abutters. So, you know, the board a number of years ago determined that 100 feet was a reasonable buffer for, you know, some protection from the, you know, the earth removal activities. You know, they can it'll be dusty and noisy and everything else. In this case, if the immediate abutters, you know, did not mind a smaller buffer zone, then that's, you know, information to take into consideration. It's, you know.
And the environmental impact? Is there a study? Has anyone done any work on what it's going to do to the property surrounding it?
The approval through the Conservation Commission addressed the wetlands and the resource areas and to make sure there was no impact to them. And we also there's also drainage, pre and post development analysis of runoff to make sure we're not drying out the wetlands. We need to match.
Are those
runoff
available
rates.
somewhere? Because
Everything
I
that's
can't
in the-
imagine this isn't going to drain the property that surrounds it. I just can't fathom that would be a true statement.
Everything that's submitted goes to the selectmen and it's public record.
Well, certainly anything the Conservation Commission, you might want to contact them and talk to them about your hearing process. They gave them order of conditions, so they decided to come in.
So I should contact them directly?
Yeah, and, you know, they're the wetlands expert.
Okay. Because there's some pretty impressive wildlife and property around there that I'm certain this is going to impact big time.
You should give Tricia Cassidy a call. She's our conservation agent, and she's the genius with all of this,
Okay.
all that stuff.
I'll do that.
But
All right.
the board did, the Conservation Commission did order, the order of conditions in 2012. So the order is valid until 2017 with the current order of conditions. So that's all on file with the conservation
Okay.
agent
All
in the
right.
office.
One of the, at least one of the thoughts, at least in my mind, and I think some of the members of the board share this, correct me if I'm wrong, but we seem to be under the impression that a cranberry bog is less hazardous to the surrounding environment than, say, a housing development, which is an option for the landowner. So we seem to, or at least in my mind, we like to encourage, say, a cranberry bog rather than a housing development.
It sounds nice on the surface. It is
I
going
understand.
to impact what we
Believe me, I'm
have.
a
And
huge outdoor fanatic.
right.
And
Right.
I honestly do believe that if I had a choice between a housing development or a cranberry bog, I'll pick a cranberry bog every day of the week for that exact reason.
Yeah, and there's a chemical impact from the cranberry bog as well, so there's pros and cons to both.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
nothing's perfect. There's
Yeah.
good and bad to everything, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just concerned about how much drainage that's going to draw from there,
and there's
because it is
I
lower
believe
elevation. I'm sorry.
The whole project has gone through endangered species protection and all that stuff as well, so it's a fairly rigorous process.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep, but if you have any, if Trish can't answer any of your questions, feel free to get in contact with this board and we'll make sure you get your answers.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. So how does October 13th sound?
Sounds good.
So
It's a holiday.
it's a holiday.
It's a holiday.
Holiday.
Columbus Day? Beautiful.
Now you're up to the 20th.
All right, so out of 6 weeks now, rather than 2 weeks.
20 with planning past classification for 7:30.
That's right.
I would make it just happen.
7:45?
Sure.
7:45, yeah. So adjourn the meeting to 7:45 on October 20th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. See you on the 20th at 7:45.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Continue the hearing till then. All right. $7:45, we'll have a public hearing regarding the update on the wastewater facility design and CWNP.
Good evening. My name is Paul Millet with Environmental Partners. We're the owner's project manager for the wastewater treatment plant project. I'm going to give a brief 2 or 3 minute overview on where the project is at right now. As Charlie mentioned a few moments ago, we got a letter from DEP last week approving the wastewater growth control plan, which is an important part of the overall process. As of right now, we're about 80% complete with the design. We're coming down the home stretch. The next 3 months will be critical Regarding schedule, October 15th is an important deadline date. We have a loan application that's due to DEP for the 0% loan for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades. We also need to submit plans and specifications that Wright Pierce will be talking about momentarily. Thereafter, and presuming favorable town meeting funding, we will do the pre-qualification of contractors and subcontractors to weed out any of the bad actors and to come up with a list of pre-qualified contractors who can bid on the job. The job hopefully will be advertised for bid in late December, early January. It'll take about 8 to 10 weeks to advertise and to get bids for a job this size. The construction cost right now is approximately $20 million. Without contingency, with contingency, it's around $23 million. That estimate will be refined in the next few weeks, but that's the 80% estimate as of right now. Over the past year, we've been working cooperatively with Wright Pierce, who've done a very good job with the design, and with Charlie and with Todd on coming up with what's called the conceptual design, schematic design, and then the final design. As we go through each phase, we refine the number of drawings, we have more information, and we have more accurate cost estimates. Regarding funding, which is an important issue, we have sought to get funding from two sources. The Mass DEP under the SRF program has the most attractive funding program. There's the 0% loan option, which is very attractive because this job is primarily based on nitrogen and phosphorus upgrades, which the majority of the plant is based around. We also tried on 2 occasions to pursue USDA funding under their Rural Utilities Program. However, USDA funding is limited to towns that have a population of less than 10,000 people. We argued twice unsuccessfully that the actual Seward portion of Middleborough, which actually is under 10,000 people, may qualify under that program. But unless there's a formally designated Middleborough Centre or sub-portion of Middleborough with a defined legal boundary, that argument will not prevail. So in summary, we're on schedule. The next 3 months will be critical. The October 15th deadline is the DEP deadline for a submittal. The funding is on track. We've been meeting with DEP regularly since last year, and we are on what's called their intended use plan for funding. And they are pleased with the project, and they know where we're headed to. Regarding the permit with EPA, as many of you know, the town's been waiting and waiting and waiting for years to get the final NIPDES permit for the plant. We got the NIPDES permit for the plant back in April, and that was and the permit conditions are favorable for nitrogen and phosphorus, and the proposed upgrade will meet those expected levels with the proposed 5-stage barred vote design process. I'm going to hand it over to John Hume from Wright Pierce to talk about the actual technical details of where we're at. But as of right now, there's about 200 drawings which we're going to be reviewing, a lot of detailed plans and specs that we'll be reviewing in the next few weeks, and more importantly, refining the cost estimate. So we have a more accurate number when we come back to you probably in 3 weeks or so. That's the highlights.
Mr. Chair, may I?
Sure.
One question?
Yes.
You are going to make the October 15th deadline.
We are. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
Good. Thank you.
Hello, I'm John Bracchio with Wright Pierce, and I've got John Hume. We'll be talking, we're going to do 2 things tonight. One is give you an update on where we are on the treatment plant design and where that project stands, and to give you a little bit more detail than what Paul just went through. And then the second thing that we have to do, it's part of the process to get the funding. We have to do a public hearing for the comprehensive wastewater management plan. So we're going to do 2 presentations, and that's sort of a checklist thing that we have to do to satisfy the state and position you for favorable financing for the project. So John's firing up a PowerPoint here. You had it on. Shouldn't have turned it off.
Here we go.
Okay. Remote? Okay.
That's fine, you can see it, Paul. Yeah.
All right, we'll just, what we'll talk about, we'll go over it quickly. Feel free to interrupt us and ask any questions, but we'll give a little bit of a background why we're even here and why we're doing that. talk about some of the things that we've been doing over the last year, the conceptual design report, schematic, and then what we've been up to more recently, the final design, and where we see the costs are and where we go from here. So we've been working, Wright Pierce as design engineers, we've been working with your town staff, Charlie, Chris, Todd, along with the EPG folks throughout this design process. So why are we even doing the upgrade? There's two main reasons. One of them, the plant was built back 1977. It's been running nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's all full of mechanical, electrical equipment, and everything is pretty much at the end of its useful life. And things have been and will continue to become more maintenance prone and deteriorate. The second reason, so that's a good enough reason to do the upgrade. The reason that's really driving the project is that you have a discharge permit and you have a new discharge permit, an EPA discharge permit that includes very strict discharge requirements for nutrients that impact the water quality river, not only the river, but also impacts the ocean and the estuary areas. So those are very stringent limits for nitrogen and phosphorus. So that's what's really been the impetus to drive the project and which is essentially, compelling the community to proceed with this project. So what we did is there were studies done several years ago. We took those studies, started doing some more detailed engineering, and refined the process through our conceptual design report. And in that process, we nailed down what the design flows are. We decided on what the process would be and confirmed that that would achieve the goals, this 5-stage Barden-Foe nitrogen removal process. We're putting in a tertiary building to get to the really low phosphorus limits. And then there's other things that just need to be done there, new sludge handling, that's critical for the operation of the facility, control building addition. There's a source of revenue at the plant is with leachate, and getting trucks in and out of there is very difficult. So we're going to reconfigure some of the site for truck access, and we're going to essentially demolish the existing sand filter building and create a maintenance garage there. So that was the conceptual ideas that we came up with. The intent of that conceptual, what came out of that conceptual design was that we decided that we could do the project in 2 phases. The first phase would be what is needed to meet your discharge goals and a treatment plant needs for the first 20 years while still preserving the total discharge permit capacity of the facility. So what we're going to be able to do is actually use concrete that's already there, but only use half of the tankage. We're going to do that right now. 2 of the tanks will remain mothballed for if and when they're needed in the future. We've also configured the project so that there'd be a 3rd secondary clarifier if and when you need it in the future, because you have sewer growth projected beyond what we're seeing right now. And the goal of doing this in this sort of phased approach is that we can save considerable capital and operational maintenance costs up front and defer it to way in the future, again, when and if you need it. So we submitted what we call the schematic design report, or our preliminary design report, in February, where we start really digging into this and confirm that we could do this phased approach that will allow you to treat up to 1.6 million gallons a day on an average basis, but still preserve your design permit capacity of 2.1. So if you had big commercial or industrial water users that came in, you would be able to accommodate them by doing those other improvements. So what we've been up to now, I'm going to have John talk about where we are right now, John Hume, on the final design and cost estimate.
Thanks, John. As John said, the final design, we completed a number of the items that you can see here, listed here, including the flows and loads. And the flows and loads, finalizing that is basically how we size equipment to be purchased for the facility, for the new facility. We also finalized the plant hydraulics, which is how the wastewater flows through the plant. Make sure that we don't need any pumping or anything like that. Another aspect that we worked on was finalizing the construction sequencing. Now, this is important because you have to still meet your permit. Todd's got to still meet his existing permit with the treatment plant, the current treatment plant. So any of the improvements that we do, we need to coordinate that with his operations and still being able to keep those operations online and operating. The final design drawings, actually, we just submitted an 80% plan submittal today to the town and EPG for review. And lastly, an updated cost estimate, which I'll get into a little bit more. So basically, we're touching every part of the treatment plant from the front end through the back end, including new mechanical fine screens, which is actually, they never had a mechanical fine screen at the facility. So this will be something new to help remove screenings. We're gonna replace all the aerated grit and new grip pumps. Primary clarifiers, we're gonna replace all the primary clarifier internals and the mechanisms that make the primary clarifiers work. Still using the existing tankage, so that saves some money. Aeration tanks, as John said, we're gonna modify that to meet the new nutrient limits. Modify that to a 5-stage barred and flow process in just aeration tanks 1 and 2. Secondary clarifiers, replacing all the internal components on the secondaries. And then the tertiary treatment, the disc filters, the tertiary treatment primarily will be used to meet the new phosphorus limit. Other improvements, new chemical feed systems for chlorination and dechlorination at the facility, a new supplemental carbon system, sludge dewatering and sludge dewatering pumps. You can see here, this is a picture of a new rotary screw press that we're proposing to install for Middleborough. Leachate receiving stations. As John said, we increased the access area, and I'll show that in the next slide here, to get the leachate trucks in and out of here more easily. And then we also have a new septic receiving station. So this is an overview of the entire site, and I'll just kind of work my way through it here. So this is the entranceway into the facility here. Here will be the new leachate receiving facility. So trucks will come in here, be able to turn around, pull over here, park, discharge leachate, and then pull out. And the access road will be wide enough. Currently, trucks park here and block the access road. So having them park over here, we'll have 2 spots here for trucks to park, and they can unload their leachate and get out of the plant. We're also going to be, this is the pretreatment building here. We're going to be replacing equipment there. This is the new fine screen building addition here for the fine screen. Here are the primary clarifiers. Again, replacing just the internals there. Aeration tanks over here. Again, we're only upgrading aeration tanks 1 and 2, while 3 and 4 will be on standby. This is the control building addition here. Secondary clarifiers, these are the existing ones. So we're going to replace the internals there, and this over here is the space reserved for the future 3rd secondary clarifier. And then here's the new tertiary treatment building with the new disc filters, and these are our new chemical storage area over here. And then here's the last part of the process, the sludge handling building. This is where we're going to be putting in new rotary screw presses and new sludge pumps. And lastly is the maintenance garage here. This is the existing sand fielder building. We're going to be converting that into the new maintenance garage. So that's kind of a general overview. These are just some architectural renderings just to show you what you're getting here. What's colored in on these slides is the new buildings. So this is the existing pretreatment building here, and this is the building addition to house the new screen. This is a overview of the control building addition, plan view of it. So over here is the addition. This is the existing part of the control building. So we've got in here, we've got new meeting room, we've got a new men's room, new showers, new desk space over here, new office space here. This is going to be a new SCADA area over here. This is the architectural rendering of the control building addition, as you can see here. So this would be looking at, this view here is looking right at the building, the front of the building. This is our tertiary treatment building. This is a completely new building. This view here will be the front of the building, so this will be looking from the access road right at the building, and some side views. The maintenance garage, as I said, this is going to be built on top of the existing sand filter, so we're saving some money there by using the existing foundation. Couple of 2-bay garages. The generator will be on this side. So there's a generator and there's some emergency transfer switches inside. So with that is the current cost estimate, or the 80% cost estimate as we'll call it, for each of the items: civil, site work, the new screenings building, pretreatment building, control building, primary and secondary treatment, tertiary treatment, sludge building. These are the chemical feed systems, emergency generator, sludge building, and the new maintenance garage. So when you add all that up, you get a subtotal of 16 million, and then we carry that over to the next page here with the contractor overhead and profit of 17.5%, and then other markups, bonds, insurance, brings the subtotal to 19.4 million. And then right now we still have a design contingency of 15% built in. We're currently developing a 90% cost estimate, so there's about almost $3 million in that number right there. So that number will drop some as we get the cost estimate, finalize the cost estimate, which we're going to get to the town at the end of this month. And then lastly, we've got the project multiplier here for the total of 23.5 million. Project schedule. So we started back out in February with the schematic design report. Now, and then in June, we did the 50% submittal to the town. And now we're in the final design phase. September, we just submitted to the town an 80% submittal here. And then, as everybody's been saying, that 90% submittal is going to go to DEP by October 15, 2014, which is the key submittal date. Then we'll incorporate any comments that they have, produce final contract documents, and have it ready for bidding, starting early, end of December, early next year. And then, we anticipate a 27-month construction period, so be 24 months from start to substantial completion, and then another 3 months to get final completion. So August 2017 would be the completion date of the treatment plant upgrade. So next steps, we're going to have a workshop with the town and the OPM, with Environmental Partners Group, to just talk about construction sequencing at the facility. As I said, Todd needs to keep this plant running during construction, and we need to make sure that we can give him the ability to be able to do that. We'll incorporate any comments that we get from the town or the OPM on our 80% submittal and submit the final design to DEP in October. So with that, we can open it up to the questions.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
I also have a bunch of engineering slides of other plans if you wanted me to go through some more of those, or you're looking at
No.
yeah.
Good for you. I'm glad you brought them, I'm glad you're prepared. My question is, this plant, our plant, existing plant, it's imperative that it keeps running.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
this is I'm not a builder, but I see this as a real technical challenge to keep your existing facility running and operating at 100% and yet cut over periodically. Do you see any situations in here, having done this before, you have done
Sure, yeah.
dual
Yeah.
operations before?
Yep.
Obviously, because you wouldn't be here if you didn't
Yeah.
have that experience. But I say that for the folks back home who might be watching.
Yeah.
So do you anticipate any kind of problem that could come up, that you might run into a situation where our facility has to be shut down for a period of time? In the construction?
Well, you can't really shut the facility down at any period of time. And the way you get around it is if you have to take off a portion of the facility, is you install bypass pumping, which is sometimes done when you upgrade. But no, we have a detailed plan for how we're going to transition from where we're going to start. We're going to start at the tertiary filters and get that in and operating first, and then we're going to. So we've developed a detailed plan that we're going to sit down and review that with the town. But yeah, this is a very important part of the whole process. Is Todd needs to keep meeting permit. Well, this plan is his existing permit. While the plan, the upgrade is going on, and we spell this all out to the contractors, so they're aware that they need to do this as well.
Because if there's fines because something bad happens.
Right.
Yeah, it requires on a weekly basis during the construction that they meet on a weekly basis and plan out what the activities are, 1 and 2 and 3 week lookout, and to make sure that everyone's confident that when a system is taken offline, that there's been provisions and accommodations or temporary pumping or temporary piping to allow a system to go offline till you can convert it over to the new. So you are right, it is a critically important. That's why a couple times here, we talk about construction sequencing. This is a very tight site, just getting equipment in and out and machinery and pumps, while you have leachate trucks delivering and septic trucks, and they're trying to maintain their operations while you have cranes and bulldozers and everything else. It's a challenge. It requires a lot of planning, and that's the fun part. We love that.
And I'm glad you enjoy it. That's good. That's good, because, God forbid, you know what's going to happen. The day that the thing breaks is the day that some guy from DEP is going to be swimming upstream and scoop up a little test sample, and then we've got a fine on our desk, which I will make the recommendation, and it goes right to you people. So keep that in the back of your mind. It's a monumental task. It's a very important task, and we've got to keep that river clean, and Todd's got to be able to keep his operation functioning.
Yeah.
So we'll be watching.
Very critical part of the whole process.
Beautiful. Good. We're all on the same page with that. That's good. So we're at 80% design
right now.
completion.
Yep. Pushing towards 90%.
90% will go on the 15th.
On the 15th. Yeah.
And that's the category that
Sufficient
everybody needs to get that 0%.
Yeah, for the 0%. Yeah.
Okay. That's also very important to us.
Yes.
Along with Todd's flow, our money flow is very important.
Right.
Our ratepayers will appreciate that a lot. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just a couple quick questions following on Mr. McKinnon's comments. Is it clear to everybody involved that Todd's in charge of the wastewater treatment facility? And that
Yeah.
if he says, I need to do this, it gets done?
Yes.
Because that needs to be abundantly clear to everyone.
Yeah. Everybody knows that.
No worries.
All right. I don't have any doubts that you can make your opinion heard. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as that's concerned. So, Ms. Dell?
Mr. Chair, so with all of this new design, everything we're going to be doing, you're going to be now in compliance with the new EPA levels that have come out. Does it just make those levels, or are you anticipating maybe being able to handle a little better in case the EPA comes down the road saying you have to be even more strict?
That's a good question. We actually talked about this, and we did a pilot study. We had tried to get to, because if there's a potential that in the future that they could drop it to, to 0.1 for total phosphorus level, and we did a pilot study to see if the disc filters could get to 0.1, and they were able to demonstrate that they,
Okay.
with enough chemical addition that they would get to 0.1.
So we're not going to have to redesign the whole wheel again when the EPA says, oh, 0.1, by the way.
Yeah, and we also met with them in Boston, and they said that they didn't think that they would be, issuing or lowering issuing a new permit anytime soon that they could see.
But we could handle it if it did.
If phosphorus,
Yeah.
that's the one we're concerned
Right.
about, that
Yeah.
that number could drop. If they spring some new parameter, well, we'll have to
Then,
deal with it at that point.
yeah, maybe have
Something
to
that
be
we're not
assessed.
aware of.
Okay, but you are anticipating it. Okay, great. Another question, quickly. The old plant was built in 1977, so it's around 37 years old, which I imagine is well past
Yes.
its life expectancy. What expectancy do you think, how long will this one last before we have to start doing things to it?
We're designing it for a 20-year life expectancy.
Okay.
And that's typical what you see at the treatment plants. I mean, Todd's done a great job at keeping your plant together for
Right.
37 years.
Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't last that long.
This is a perfect example of, you take care of things that you can stretch, get a lot more value out of it. Usually we pick 20 years just because the technologies change, the equipment wears out, so that's the typical design parameter, is a 20-year for the mechanical. The structures, the buildings have a longer life, and that's why we're reusing a lot of the structures and buildings there.
Okay. So that's for the mechanical, okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment. I know I talk with a lot of people who are on sewer system, and nobody likes seeing their bill go up. But, it's not a question of should we do this. This has to be done. I
Right.
know a lot of the members on the board have gone down and toured the facility itself. It's amazing that it's still running. And this obviously needs to happen. Again, nobody wants to see their rates go up, but I think the town's doing a good job making sure that it's being done in the most cost-effective way.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. McKinnon?
One of the things that I think concerns me is when you hear the term new methods or new anything, I want to make sure we don't get the new shiny coin thing that is the greatest thing since sliced white bread, and this is going to solve all your problems, and then
Right.
2 years from now, we're replacing it. We don't have any of those situations, do we?
No, we
have
don't.
good, redundant, stable devices that
Yeah.
we're putting in.
Yeah.
When Todd has to fix something, and he's done, in a testimony to Todd and his crew for
Right.
keeping that place going. I mean, there are jobs up there. When you think you have a bad job, you go down and see some of the stuff Todd has to do, and you will realize that your job is paradise, because there are places where Todd has to go and work
Right.
that
It's not a rose
God
factory.
love him for doing it, because it's tough duty. But
Yeah, we've been working closely, very closely with Todd, and all the manufacturers that we're listing in the specifications are all reputable manufacturers that we've worked with in the past and have installations, numerous installations. So there's no guinea pigs out there.
And also, on some of the pieces of equipment and systems, that we're familiar with, but Todd isn't familiar with. The design team with Todd went and did tours of other facilities where that equipment is operating, so he could physically see it, meet with the operators, and get a sense of what we were recommending and why, so that he understands and accepts it, because he just hasn't had, you know, that experience. So everything there, everything that we're using is, you know, proven, well-used technology. Some of it's newer technology, that a lot different and newer than what he has now. So, but it's well proven, and we wanted him to see firsthand it in other facilities.
Okay. Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments, questions?
Let me just mention a couple of things that maybe we didn't emphasize enough of already. Back in February, you know, going to Mr. Nolan's concern about cost and concern about the ratepayers, we had a value engineering meeting in February to look at the design at that time, and we came up with about $1.5 million in savings that we could take out of the plant and, you know, take out of the final cost without sacrificing any functionality of the plant. You know, we switched from gas to diesel emergency generator, and that saved a lot of money, and a couple other things we did. So we've, you know, and you know, the engineers will tell you, we've focused very, very heavily on keeping our costs down, you know, trying to keep the impact on the ratepayers as low as it possibly can be. We also identified one state grant program that we might be eligible for, that, you know, we could, you know, potentially get up to a $500,000 state grant, you know, because of, you know, what they consider, you know, we're an environmental justice community. We have, you know, one of our census tracts is below, you know, significantly below the median, and you know, that qualifies us for, you know, actually grant funding, not just, you know, low interest loans. So you know, that's going to drive one of the other deadlines, which is we have to have our bids in hand by April 1st of next year, and we're on, you know, we're intending to do that in order to qualify for that grant. We did attempt to get another grant from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Unfortunately, that, despite our best efforts and many arguments, we just, you know, couldn't get them to see it our way, and we've had to drop that effort. But you know, as of today, because, you know, this board had the foresight to begin raising rates early, we're on track to be able to meet the financing requirements of this project when they start coming due in a couple of years. And you know, we may even be in a position to be able to forego one of those increases, you know, in a couple of years. So, you know, so the good news is that we're on target, and we're already starting to eliminate some of our potential debt. You know, one of the articles you looked at last week was to retire some of the debt that we were paying, or, you know, we had authorized for engineering. So, you know, the design is on track, the financing is on track, and you know, we have a lot of work to, you know, do in the next couple of months, but I think we're in a very good position.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to emphasize the original estimates for this project were around $30 million.
That's correct.
So it's more than on track for the design, coming in at almost $7 million less. That's nice to hear.
Thank you for pointing that out. I should have done that, but thank you.
Nice to hear. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. McKinnon?
I'm still hung up on the USDA thing, and I know that somewhere down there that's written in stone. But we just talked about a 20-foot, 50-foot buffer from a 100-foot buffer. We made an exception. I would like to see, you know, we're dealing with a federally protected waterway that we're improving the water quality in, and it's on our backs to do that. But I wonder if we can get our legislators to assist us with maybe convincing the FDA that this is something worth looking at and dropping some money towards, because it's, you know, it's going to be a big improvement in that river over the next years.
If I thought we even had a snowball's chance in hell, I would try anything, but, you know, I think from everything I've heard and everything I've done on this, we just don't, you know, you could always ask, but
Well,
I
you
just
know,
don't think that it's gonna lead anywhere.
It's not that I know anything about politics or anything, but it is an election season. So maybe somebody could do something that pulls the rabbit out of the hat. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. It's only $500,000?
Yeah.
I mean, in Washington, that's what? 30 seconds of spending in Washington? Jesus. They could afford it.
Mr. Chair, is that was the one because of the resident requirement? We had too many people?
Yeah.
It's been,
Charlie and I met with Ron Coons from USDA in their West Wareham office on 2 occasions. I don't disagree with you about re-engaging the debate again, but we've tried twice and lost twice, to be quite candid. But it's certainly worth maybe a third try. So we're open to trying again, but the strict interpretation by USDA was that unless you can prove that there is a formally defined town boundary, which we couldn't prove, even though the actual Seward area has less than 10,000 people, we couldn't win that argument despite logical efforts to win.
And I understand that. And yes, if we strictly interpret every law the way it's supposed to be strictly interpreted, I think things would be a lot different everywhere.
Right.
So there's, for one agency, maybe they just need to have a nudge. And we have people that work for us, representatives, senators, that are supposed to be working for us. So maybe a letter from them might help.
Okay,
You never know.
we'll contact the congressman's office. You know, it's a federal agency, so we should go to the federal representative and, you know, see what he can do. We'll send him the correspondence so he understands what the issues are and ask him to give him a call.
Good, thank you.
Anything else? Any member of the audience have any comments or questions? Todd, is there anything you want us to say or do, or? You're good? That's what I like to hear.
Mr. Chairman, Todd, you've seen what they're proposing. You've seen some of the new mechanicals and all that. You happy with all this?
I'm happy with the design. I'll be happier in 27 months when it's done.
It'll make 2 of us. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, well, there's actually, we're not going yet.
All right. We're going to talk about your other
Should
stuff.
we
Yeah, please.
roll right into our next presentation here? So what we're going to do now is a public hearing on a comprehensive wastewater management plan. And this is essentially a requirement of the state that we had to do this plan to help you qualify for the 0% financing. And part of doing the plan requires that you have a public hearing at a couple of the milestones. So we're checking off the box that we're having the public hearing. Excuse me.
I think we have to have a official public hearing notice on
I
this.
don't think we have it here.
I don't-
See one.
Do
I
we
don't
have a
have
copy here
What?
of the hearing notice?
I've got it in my.
Yeah, I don't have it with me here.
I can grab it. Excuse me.
Okay, we'll open this hearing. In accordance with Massachusetts DEP Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, TWMP guidelines, the town of Middleborough will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 15th, 2014 at 7:45 p.m. in the Middleborough Town Hall Selectmen's Meeting Room located at 10 Nickerson Avenue, Middleborough, Mass. The purpose of the public hearing is to present a detailed evaluation of alternatives for wastewater disposal and development of a recommended wastewater management plan. Town officials, as well as representatives from its consultant, Wright Pierce, will be in attendance. The public is welcome and encouraged to attend. A record of public comment will be included in the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan report. I think that's good. Yeah, should I read it all? Yeah, all right, I'm not done yet. In addition, as a part of the public participatory process, the town has established a permanent information depository for project information which can be viewed by the public per request in advance of the public hearing at the following location. Town Manager's Office, 10 Nickerson Ave, Town Hall, first floor, Middleborough, Mass. 02346, at 508-947-0928, hours 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, and at Wright Pierce, 40 Shattuck Road, Andover, Mass. 01810, at 978-416-8000, hours 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. At each depository, 2 3-ring binders, one for each phase, will provide accompanying project information and documents and be placed in a place accessible for public view. Each project binder cannot be removed from any of the depositories. If you have any questions at all, please contact Wright Pierce at 978-416-8000. Now we can go.
Okay. All right, my name is John Bracchio, and also I have John Hume, and what we're going to do is give a presentation describing our work on the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan. As far as what we're going to talk a little bit about who was involved with putting the plan together, why we do the Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, what the overall approach is, what was completed in phase 2 and phase 3 of the plan, and where we go from here, the next steps. So to prepare these plans involves a variety of people. We work with various town departments and department heads to gather information about the town and about the existing wastewater handling systems. And then Wright Pierce, our engineering firm, is who actually prepared the plan. All right, so as far as why do you do these wastewater management plans, this is a document that the DEP wants all communities to have prepared, and the intent of it is to act as a guidance document on how you're going to handle wastewater disposal and collection for a 20-year planning period. And so that's what the plan, the main purpose of the plan. Some of the reasons that a plan was needed in Middleborough: one is that the treatment plant is received a new discharge permit with very strict limits for nitrogen and phosphorus, so we're proceeding with a major upgrade. And so the idea is to make sure that that upgrade is sufficient to meet the needs of the town. The other part is to look at the non-sewered areas outside of the current sewer service area, to determine if on-site septics are able, or on-site wastewater systems are able to meet the needs where sewers are not provided, or if we have to look at other alternatives. And by doing this plan, one, it's a good idea to know what you're doing for the next 20 years. But the other reason, the compelling reason for us to do it, is we need to do it to help you qualify for the 0% SRF funding. If you want to get that funding, you had to do this plan. So that was a pretty good reason to do it. So how does the plan work? It's broken up into 3 phases. The first phase, we work with your town departments to identify all the existing conditions related to wastewater treatment and collection throughout town, sewered and unsewered. We did that phase 1, and we had a public hearing in February giving you the results of that. It's really like an inventory, trying to identify what are your potential problem areas. and we identified some of those areas in the Phase 1. Phase 2, we look at the range of alternatives to address those problem areas for wastewater treatment, primarily outside of the sewer service area, and we do a screening process to say, well, which one should we look at in greater detail? And in Phase 3, which John will be talking about here in a minute, we do a more detailed evaluation of those screened alternatives and come up with our recommendations and put some costs to those. So this whole process is done in accordance with DEP guidelines to meet their rules. So with that, John, I'm going to go through. John will go through what we did in each of the phases.
Thanks, John. As John said, the first phase of the CWMP, we went through all of the existing conditions of the town, the wastewater collection system, treatment systems, and the water treatment systems. Evaluated any reports that the Board of Health had, any of the planning departments had. We looked at any previous studies that the town had, and then we performed a town-wide wastewater needs assessment to determine if there was any areas. In that map over there, you can see that those are all the study areas throughout the town of Middleborough over there that we developed for this whole CWMP process. So phase 2, part of the CWMP, we identified and evaluated different alternatives for wastewater collection and treatment system for the 2 study areas that were deemed as recommended to move on into future evaluation. And those 2 study areas are study area 24, which is the Savory Pond area, and study area 28, which is Wood Pond. So you can see they're colored in that map over there. They're the colored areas over there. What type of alternatives did we look at? Well, we looked at on-site alternatives, which are typical septic systems, which are Title V compliant. We looked at innovative and alternatives, or IA systems, decentralized systems, or regional type systems. You know, we looked at shared Title V, shared IA systems, and small treatment facilities. And then lastly, the collection system extension, we looked at possibly whether or not these areas could be collected, the collection system could be extended to these areas and then connected to the existing sewer system. So on-site, again, Title V systems, conventional or mounted, or the IA systems, just some examples of those types of systems there. Decentralized systems, again, these are shared Title V systems, be it for like a neighborhood or something like that, or shared IA systems. And we also looked at, you know, whether or not a small package facility or something, for small package type treatment plant would make sense in some of these areas. For the collection system alternatives, you know, the old gravity sewer with pumping stations and force mains, and that's what we actually looked at for these 2 areas in Middleborough. But there are other alternatives, you know, that we said there. There's low pressure systems that we looked at, vacuum sewers, and small diameter gravity sewers. So, like we did for phase 1, we used a similar score system where we had primary criteria that are all treatment related for the most part, and these primary criteria scored a score of 0 to 10 for each of these areas. In the level of treatment, nutrient treatment, land size, and ease of operation. And then we had secondary criteria that were scored from 0 to 5 because they weren't as important, but obviously some things that we need to consider, like public acceptance, regulatory, legal things, and other environmental impacts. So I don't know if you can read this from your seats over there, but this is basically a summary table of the study area 24 for Savory Pond area. And each of the primary criteria is listed at the top here, with level of treatment, nutrient treatment, land site, ease of operation. And then so for each one of these, for conventional Title V systems, we assigned a number based on the rating system. So 0 means it's most well suited for both primary and secondary criteria, and a 10 would mean that it's least well suited. So the idea here is the lower the number you get, the more ideal the treatment system is for that area. So for the collections, for the conventional Title Vs, we assigned our numbers and got our total primary criteria here, and then the secondary criteria, and added it up to be 9, and the total was 31 points. The IA system, the total score was 34 points. The decentralized, all of the regional type systems or group type systems, those all scored higher than the conventional and Title V systems. And the collection system extension to the town of Middleborough, that scored lower. So the 3 lowest scores passed on for further evaluation. So the conventional Title V and the IA systems and the collection system extension. This is the summary result again for Woods Pond area. Same type of analysis was done for the primary, secondary criteria, and again for this area, the conventional Title V and IA systems proved to score the lowest overall points, along with the collection system extension that we passed on into the next phase, which would be phase 3. So this is just a summary of the phase 2 results here. Again, conventional Title V systems, IA systems, and collection system extensions passed on to phase 3. So this was phase 3, and again, this is our detailed evaluation of those shortlisted alternatives for these 2 areas. We also developed a recommended wastewater management plan, identified solutions for these needs areas, study area 24 and 28, and also the existing wastewater system. So shortlisted alternatives are listed here once again. Title V or IA systems, or the town of Middleborough collection system. So what we did is we developed a potential solution if you were going to connect to the collection system from this area. And this is just a map here. So this is study area 24 is over here. So the solution would be to install gravity sewers for this area over here, install a pump station, and then we would pump 3.5 miles or so to tie into the existing collection system. As you can probably imagine, this is probably a pretty costly solution. So regarding cost, we did a present worth analysis of each of the systems, the Title V, IA, and collection system extensions. This is for study area 24. And the total present worth cost was about $1 million for Title V, right just over $2 million for the IA systems, and $8.5 million or so for the collection system extensions. Now this is all cost is based on 2014 dollars. So the final ranking for study area 24. We looked at whether or not there was any other environmental impacts in this area that would not allow us to recommend the Title V, and there weren't. So, we continued to rank, future treatment through Title V systems for these areas. Obviously it's the most cost-effective and the appropriate solution for this area, as we say in this slide here. So for study area 28, Woods Pond, we did a similar type of evaluation for the Title V and the IA systems, and extension to the collection system. For Woods Pond, again, over here, we install, gravity sewers to a common pump station down here, and then we pump the force main all along here to the collection system. Similar type of approach, and also, as we found out, it's pretty costly. As basically the present work cost here, the Title V systems for this area was about, for a 20-year period is about 2.7 million, 5.9 million for the IA systems, and collection systems extension was, almost 9 million. So our final ranking here for study area 28 is similar to study area 24, is to remain with Title V systems for wastewater disposal for the future. It just doesn't make sense. The cost doesn't, make sense to do it unless the residents really wanted it done. So, lastly, we, as John said earlier, we're here for the public input. After this meeting, we've completed the Phase 3 CWMP. We're going to submit that to DEP once we, take any comments we have at this meeting, submit it to DEP for their review, and we'll implement any comments that they have, and then send it out. And that all has to be done by October. So we're in the process of doing that, with that meeting that same deadline. So with that, we can open it up to any questions or.
Any member of the board have any questions?
So these two problematic areas would cost approximately $16 million if we were connected into the existing system.
Yes. Yeah.
And then open us up to the possibility of somebody saying, well, you've already got the sewer line going down
I want to tie in.
Plymouth. Why not just jump right in with everybody on board?
Right.
Which would mean we'd have to spend another, who knows how much to redo the sewer treatment plant.
Right.
And we'd lose that 0% financing.
Right. Or stay with the Title V systems, which seems to be the most cost efficient.
Yes, and they're working, and we looked at the database from the Board of Health records, and there aren't a lot of failures in town in certain areas. So as I said, it's
okay. So this doesn't really look as horrifying as first blush.
Right.
Good.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Any comments or questions from the audience? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We'll close the hearing.
Close the hearing.
Is there a written comment period required for this? Is there a written, oh, don't pat yourself in the back yet.
If people weren't here, could they submit comments or
Yeah. They
to
can
here or?
to me or yeah. can send
Or
it.
to my office.
Or to Charlie or.
Yeah.
Is there a time frame for this, though? I mean, it can't be forever, so.
When do you need to submit?
I'm planning to submit, to DEP as soon as, it's ready to go. So as soon as, if we can get comments in the next couple of weeks. Is that fair?
By the end of next week.
By the end of next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that, the 26th? Yeah, 26th. Yeah, by Friday the 26th, any comments to the town manager on the comprehensive wastewater management plan? And we'll get them the right years.
Can't be the night, it's this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
The number of square feet of impacts before you have to file the lien after the IRS. So all this needs to go in.
All right, see you. Good night.
All right, thank you. All right, so next on the agenda, we're going to have a meeting with Mr. Robert Weaver of Sports Limited Auto Sales regarding his Class 2 automobile dealer's license.
Good evening. Good.
Good. How many cars do you have on your lot?
22.
All right. We've gotten more than one report over the past couple of years that you've gone over that number,
Correct.
and we find that disturbing.
Since our last meeting, sorry to interrupt, but listen, I've cut it down to the 25 cars. If there's been 27 or 28, it's only because cars have been brought in that are registered that we're doing warranty work on. But I've invited Charlie down and I believe Miss Stewart, and you know, they saw that, you know, the amount of cars I had there.
If we get you with more than 25 vehicles on your lot for sale, we're gonna have a hearing, and I'm gonna recommend.
Okay.
I personally feel that we're gonna pull your license.
Okay,
That's
sir.
the recommendation I'll make.
All right.
This isn't the first time.
Nope, you're
It
right.
should be the last time, because we don't like being ignored.
Yes, exactly.
Does anyone else have any other comments?
I can tell you that I never want to see you here again for more than 25 cars, and you never know when you're going to get checked. 25 cars, you'll be here the following night,
I think,
yanking your license.
I think that, you know, I think if I do go over because of people doing warranty work, I'll go up to the selectman secretary and tell her.
No
But I mean,
ifs,
you
no
know,
ifs. We
I'm
don't
not going to have
have-
more than 25 cars for sale.
You've had more than, this is an ongoing problem. You've been doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
This game stops. You get more than 25 cars, you're going to be in here for a hearing. This ends. Do
Okay.
you have any questions?
No, the only question I have is that I think I have the room, and I'd like to apply for more cars with an engineer's report.
Well, that's another issue.
Okay, that's
Our
fine.
issue is,
All right.
you have a permit for 25 cars.
Mhm.
You have more than 25 cars on that lot. We catch you.
Okay,
You don't have to worry about the other permit.
all right, fine. Yep, thank you.
My feelings, Mr. Chairman.
Yep, I agree. Does anyone else have any other comments?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Knowlton?
I'm going to echo what they said, and I'm going to add to it. I also don't want to see complaints about your business.
Yeah, I
Because
don't-
when
I
your
don't have any
license comes up
complaints.
for renewal, I'm looking at customers who are just unsatisfied, and then it seems like...
I have an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. For that last guy, he pulled the wool over your eyes, okay? And I don't think you should go there with him, because First of all, he was totally wrong. I did it by the book.
I'm saying I don't want to see those kind of complaints anymore.
Well, I understand, but that guy was wrong.
That's all I have.
Ms. Stewart, anything?
Mr. Costello and I did go out, I think it was last month. There is some, an order of conditions, I think, from the
Yep.
Conservation
Yep.
Commission.
And I went.
Mr. Weaver spoke with
Yep.
Tricia Cassidy, and I don't
Yep.
think it was, explained to you
Correct.
that everything has to be on the pavement.
Right.
And I don't think that, after speaking with Cassidy, that there were any issues with the gravel.
Right, there was no
closed
issue.
area, so.
Right.
Fine.
Yep.
So we're all on the same
Yes,
page?
you are. Thank you.
Beautiful,
Appreciate it.
thank you very much.
Have a great night.
You too.
Is this an official hearing?
Huh? Didn't open it. Just a meeting.
Great.
All right,
Awesome.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. McKinnon.
a quick question. In part of the public hearings for the wastewater treatment plant, comprehensive wastewater management program or whatever, we were supposed to discuss Article 12, water pollution facilities. Does this kind of cover that? Because we did touch on all the base
We did, and
points.
all we were doing tonight with that was to ask for your support for Article 12. Obviously, as we all said, it was a requirement. We've kept the cost down, we've brought the cost down. The financing that we're pursuing will, bring the impact to the ratepayer down even lower. So, so if you don't mind, taking a vote on Article 12 tonight and voting your support, that's...
So the folks back home will understand very clearly. We were talking originally $30 to $35 million when
That's
we
right.
first started this. It's now down to approximately $25 million.
That's right.
A little bit less than that, actually. If we get the 0% financing on $25 million, then we're talking about a savings of
Millions of dollars of interest costs, absolutely.
$3,700,000 in interest charges we won't have
Well,
to pay.
that's even understating it, because, some of that builds in some proportion of an interest rate.
Right.
So if we end up getting the full 0%, there's even more savings. It's in the millions of dollars. It's very significant. And, when we started this process, we were not aware that there was a 0% option out there.
Right.
We were basing everything on 2%. So, yeah, I mean, we, I think, have done everything we can possibly do to limit the impact on our ratepayers of this project.
Does anyone want to make a motion to support
Make a
Article
motion
12?
to support Article 12.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, that about does it for our meeting tonight.
No, it doesn't.
We'll go into executive sessions for contract negotiations with non-union personnel, the police chief, not to return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Poll vote.
McKinnon, yes.
Dalby, yes.
Chair votes yes.
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 All right. Thank you very much.